Hi, this is Matt with the Longmont Observer, and today I am joined with Jeff Meyer and Marsha Williams with Spellbinders. Hello, thank you for joining us.
You bet. Thank you.
So what is Spellbinders?
Well, Spellbinders is a storytelling organization. We tell to in classrooms all over the Longmont area. Longmont, actually, Niwot, Erie, Firestone, Frederick, and Econo, and Lyons as well. And we hope to move into Meade. Basically, what we do is we tell stories in classrooms, traditional stories, folklore, folk tales, fairy tales, and actually the individual storyteller can come up with their own stories. Sometimes it's children's stories they've read that they like and they want to turn into a story that they tell themselves. A common misunderstanding is that we read to the students, and that is not the case. We actually tell our stories to the students. We try to make them our own stories.
And you were telling me off camera that you do stories from not just American, but other countries as well?
Yes, I think in our chapter, I think there is kind of a focus on telling stories like Native American stories, but I particularly try to do a pretty international flavor of stories. I tell stories from all over the world: Japan, China, Iran, India, Germany, Ireland, England, Scotland, France, Norway, and I'm sure Africa. I'm sure there's other ones I've told. Mexico as well. I've told many stories from Mexico. So again, quite a variety. And you, Marsha?
Well, the same thing, and I like to focus as well on African and Native American and Mexico, because we have a lot of those. We have a lot of people from those countries that maybe sometimes don't hear their own stories, or haven't heard their own stories, or would like to hear them again.
And how did you get started in Longmont?
The Longmont chapter got started by a librarian here. Her name was Sandra Pendergrass, and it was there's some. I never knew Sandra, but one of our long-standing members, Kathy Waddell, knew her, and she thinks the chapter got started in 2002. Some people say 2001. And she wanted an outreach from the library to classrooms in the Longmont area, something that would make a connection between kids in the classroom and the Longmont library. And we serve as that connection. We go out and tell in these classrooms, we talk in classrooms, we tell kids stories, and as their interest is piqued, we tell them, come to the library and get a book on it. So that's one of our goals of our organization.
And you have a thing coming up to train some more people for storytelling?
That's correct. We have training twice a year. Typically, it's in October and either February or March. We do have an October training coming up. It involves 4 sessions, 3 hours each. We do want you, and the purpose of the training is when you go into the classroom, we want you to be prepared. We want you to have a good experience, a good interaction with the kids. And so that's why the training involves 12 hours. The training dates are October 2nd, October 5th, the 10th, and the 17th. And during the training, you will hear examples of storytelling, and you also will be asked to take various stories and turn them into your own stories and practice telling them with your other trainees.
And people can find that information on spellbinders.org?
That's correct. Yeah, it's very simple. Go to spellbinders.org. If you scroll down on the screen, you will see a logo that says our chapters, and you can find the Longmont chapter there. And if you click on the link there, it will bring you in contact with our chapter, and you can find out more about our training and what our organization is.
I'll have a direct link to the Longmont section of that website, but you can also find it on your own. But I'll have those in the description. How did you get involved?
Well, I saw a poster in the library, and it piqued my interest. I'm a former teacher, and I have always loved interacting with students along with the lesson in different creative ways. And I used to also teach an acting class. And I found that lots of kids develop their imagination when they're working in a creative way, like you don't always do when you're reading and writing. I was an English and social studies teacher. And of course, those are very, very important, but we tried to bring a lot of stories into the teaching. And when I saw the poster, I said, this sounds wonderful. I'd never actually told stories like this, but I've had the kind of stories that I could weave into my social studies and my English class. But I hadn't been telling fairy tales, myths, and legends from around the world, and that really appealed to me. And I got involved in the training, and I loved it from day one. It was one of the best things I've ever done for myself.
Well, there's a lot of, we have a lot of American stories, but in reviewing the movies I do on both of my channels, I've expanded onto a lot of stories from other countries I'd never even heard of. No one ever touched on stuff in school. So it's cool to see stories from other cultures.
And I think these days kids are less apt to hear stories in their home than they used to. There's so much on TV, or they have Chromebook or this or that, and they're not hearing some of these wonderful fairy tales, myths, and legends that are extremely entertaining and also have a wonderful lesson.
Right, or they're getting the kind of watered down Disney version of something, or maybe a short episode of something that kind of touches on it, but it's not the real story.
Right.
Yeah, I tell a story from Russia and Vasilisa, and it's another variation of Cinderella. And of course, in cultures all over the world, there are Cinderella stories. And so it's interesting to see the kids say, again, I begin the story by telling them, I've got a story, and it involves a wicked stepmother. And they'll say, Cinderella. And she has two wicked stepsisters. Cinderella. And I'll say, no, the story is Vasilisa, and this one comes from Russia. And so, and when they hear the story, it plays out a little bit differently than the Cinderella story, but it has many similarities to the Cinderella story, but it's a way to engage the kids and also to kind of open their mind to the idea that in different cultures, they tell things differently, but in the end, things are more or less the same.
Well, we're all human.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're more alike than we're different, and that's needed more than ever.
Right.
And in schools, kids have always tended to form groups. And it's us against them, and they're different. This has always been the case, but I think stories help melt those boundaries.
Do you have any stories about your experiences with Spellbinders?
Let's see. Well, I do have one class. I've had a student in one class who wanted to always tell me the ending before I got to the ending. and sometimes it was actually better than mine.
You're like, yeah, that's pretty good. I think I note that down.
Anyway, I said to him, I want you to become a spellbinder. He said, I already am. And I knew it. I just
confidence
knew it.
In this kid. I love it.
Well, I had this one class, and I began telling last year in second grade, and I typically had told to older kids, third and fourth graders. And so I was a little bit concerned about telling in second grade. I didn't know if I would engage with the kids as well. And I was telling in this classroom, and the teacher was there, and then she kind of went away for a while. She had to take care of something. And these two girls were sitting at their desks, and they weren't really paying attention to the story. And they were messing around on a piece of paper, and I thought, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should call them out and say, hey, are you listening, or say something? And I let it be. And then I got done with my story, and it was a story about the little people up in Montana. It's a story from an Indian tribe up in Montana, and how they had adopted a member of the Blackfoot tribe into their clan and taught them their mysteries. And when I got done with the story, it turned out that the two girls were drawing pictures of the story, and they had these two nice little drawings of little people and then the big man that was living among them. And so I thought, well, I guess I can do it with second graders as well as the older kids. So.
Yeah, they were just visualizing.
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I think this idea of visualizing in one way or another is one of the more wonderful things about storytelling, because the Disney Channel and all kinds of things that they see in the theaters or on TV is giving them the picture. When we tell a story, they get to make their own picture, and I think that that's a very valuable tool, and it helps their inventiveness and their creativity and their imagination stretch.
Well, I think that's always why they say the book is better than the movie, because everybody has their own version of what they see, but that's also why it's impossible for any movie to be better than the book, because everybody's got their own, and you can't really put that on screen. But when I was talking with you earlier that I really like storytelling from, like, I would get audiobooks sometimes. Mm-hmm. And the Harry Potter audiobooks done by Jim Dale, because he does the voices. And even as an adult, I felt like a kid on the carpet during story time. Are you going to do you have any kind of digital footprint of maybe stories? Are you going to do anything like that?
Yes, we do post. We posted one video that we have actually on our website. It is a project or program we did back in January. What we did is we had 4 of our members take the Aesop's Fable, The Lion and the Mouse, and each of them did their own version of the story. And we've got that posted there. So we've got some pretty creative versions. Marsha is one of the persons who took part in that storytelling, and one of our storytellers actually reset the story in New York, and he's got some people from Brooklyn maybe who are the mice, and they're plotting and planning on how to help out their friend the lion. And so anyway, a pretty creative thing that we did too. And I hope to do more of that, to post some more examples of our storytelling on our website so people can view it. So
that's awesome.
Good afternoon. I'm going to tell you the story of The Lion and the Mouse, a fable from ancient Greece.
One more thing I'd like to say. Another good way to get a taste of what our chapter is about is to attend a chapter meeting. We do have a chapter meeting coming up on August 27th. That one's a little bit different from our normal chapter meeting. It is typically we meet on the first Monday of each month, and our meetings are from 2 to 4 on that Monday. We meet in meeting rooms A and B in the library, in Longmont Library, and you always will hear some stories. You get to meet some other Spellbinder members, storytellers, and it's a good way to get a taste of our chapter as well if you want an idea of what it is to be a Spellbinder.
And I'll just add one thing, too. The Spellbinder group is made up of some of the most interesting and wonderful people I've met in a long time. Many are retired teachers, but many are not. But they are filled with creativity and humor and sparkle in their eyes, and they're wonderful to be around. They're just a great group.
So I will have links in the description below for the website, the Longmont link for the chapter meetings, and how to become a volunteer. Come down, just check them out. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marsha. I appreciate it. And you guys have a good day.